We generally call it the catastrophe because we feel like it wasn't a riot. We were not the perpetrators, we were the victims. But it took 80 years to get the state of Oklahoma to acknowledge that.
The Tulsa Race Massacre is believed to be one of the worst incidents of racial violence in American history. From May 31st to June 1st in 1921, as many as 300 people were killed, hundreds were injured, and thousands of buildings were destroyed.
On June 1st, they began to systematically destroy neighborhoods, and they had airplanes dropping things down on people's houses, and they had made up their minds to clear the entire area of black people.
It started after a newspaper reported a black man tried to sexually assault a white woman. Though it's still uncertain what exactly happened, many did not believe that story. The Oklahoma Historical Society said the most common explanation is Dick Rowland stepped on Sarah Page's foot when he entered the elevator, causing her to scream. A group of armed black men went to the courthouse to offer help protecting Rowland once they heard talks of lynching. A crowd of white men was also on the scene. A shot was fired and the riots began.
My parents were very distressed because here they are with 5 kids, and the schools had been. I went to Dunbar School, and that was reduced to just rubble. I mean, they blew it up.
Crowds of white rioters went to the Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street. It was home to an affluent African-American community with banks, hotels, theaters, and new homes.
They took my 8-year-old brother, too, where they were holding all the black men. And we didn't know because we lived on one side of town and they lived on the other. We thought they were locking up the non-blacks, too. But it so happened that it didn't occur that way. What they did was to disarm and lock up all black men. And then they said to the mob, there's nothing out there now but women and children, so you can do whatever you want to do. And that was when the real terrible things started to happen.
It ended when the city was placed under martial law and National Guard troops were deployed. But Black Wall Street was devastated. Survivors never received compensation for what they lost.
All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders. Great millstone, shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, they're scattered abroad. It's your brother Atazawan Bayath, and we saw the clip, all right, of one of the elder ladies. I think she might be the one that's 108 or 109. All right, this judgment just came down in Oklahoma. This judge dismisses the lawsuit, okay? And we say it time and time again that this place is not your rest, you know, to all you jakes out there who are seeking help or seeking a reprieve from a people and from a system that does not care about you, right? But more importantly, the Most High has done something to the children of Israel, all right? And we'll get into that in just a second. So this is Micah 2:10, and it reads, Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction. You see? So there's no need in thinking that you're going to get a reprieve from these people, that these people are going to have compassion on you, that the system that they set up is going to be compassionate towards you, okay? That's not going to happen. Now, you have some instances where the Lord may, you know, bring a little grace into a Jake's life, and things may halfway go your way. But this is such a big deal here in this country, all right? The ugliness of race riots from the early turn of the 20th century, that they want to act like history doesn't exist, and they want to put it behind you, right? They want to say, that was so long ago, why does it matter now, right? And the people that are responsible, well, they're not here anymore, so it's not fair to tax somebody else just to give you something, or whatever the reason is, All right. So we'll read this article here from Fox News, and it says Oklahoma judge dismisses lawsuit seeking reparations for 1921 Tulsa race massacre. Okay. It reads, the three remaining victims of the massacre filed the lawsuit in 2020, nearly 100 years after the incident. And it goes on and says, an Oklahoma District Court judge tossed a lawsuit filed in 2020 seeking reparations for the 1921 Tulsa race massacre, which some hoped would provide justice to the remaining three survivors of the attack before they died. Right? And this just goes to show you that these devils don't care about you, okay? These folks are over 100+ year old, okay? And they're going to the court system to seek justice, right? Not coming to the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, okay? All right, because they've got that old Negro spirit in them, okay? To go to the same oppressors that bombed your cities and think that 100 years later they're going to care, okay? The Associated Press going on reported that Judge Caroline Wall dismissed with prejudice the legal suit that would have forced the city of Tulsa and others to pay for the damages that occurred in Greenwood, a once thriving black district, Slovakia, right? And so these people don't care. I mean, you've had this go on, and me and the brothers were talking about it just yesterday. In various different parts of the country. You had it in East St. Louis, Illinois in the early 1900s, okay? You had race riots in Chicago, I believe, in the early 1900s, Slovakia. Okay, and various other different places across the country in the matter of 120 years. Okay, these people have never owned up to what they've done. Okay, and they're not going to start now. So let's go on a little bit in the article. And it reads, the three remaining survivors of the attack, Leslie Binghamfield Randall, Viola Fletcher, and Hughes Van Ellis, filed the lawsuit in 2020. The city remains committed to finding the graves of 1921 Tulsa race massacre victims, fostering economic investment in the Greenwood district, educating future generations about the worst event in our community's history, and building a city where every person has an equal opportunity for a great life, Tulsa Mayor G.T. Bynum said, adding that city officials had not received a full court order. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go down a little bit further. It says, Wall said in her order that she was throwing the case out because of arguments made by the city, Regional Chamber of Commerce, and other state and local agencies. Last year, the judge denied a motion from the defendants to dismiss the case, allowing it to proceed. Okay. If you don't know the backstory of this was a thriving town back then in the 20s, where Israelites were doing pretty good, right? They had their own bus companies and movie theaters and tailor shops and cab service and banks and so on and so forth, that they didn't need any business from so-called white folks, okay? But there was a trumped up charge about a man going into a building and, allegedly the woman accused him of, some inappropriations, all right? And so that's what they used to start a riot. But there are other sources out there that say it was really because there were so-called white people in the town that wanted to do business, all right, in Greenwood on that side of town, and the people kindly told them, no, we don't want to do business with you. We okay by ourselves, right? Basically controlling their own economics on their side of the town, okay? But anyway, that's the backstory on this decision, all right? So you have three remaining survivors who are asking for quote unquote reparations. And these people are never going to admit anything. They're never going to admit they did anything wrong. And there ain't enough money to pay for all the lives that were lost and all the property that was damaged from over 120 some years ago, 100 years ago. How do you economically figure that out? Okay, for future losses. I mean, how do you do that? Okay, so they're never going to own up to that. So going on, it says, the massacre began on the morning of May 31st, 1921, after a black man accused of sexually assaulting a white woman was arrested and jailed at the Tulsa County Courthouse. Out of fear that the black man would be lynched, a large group of armed black men rushed the courthouse to defend him, according to a 2001 report from the Oklahoma Commission to study the Tulsa race riot of 1921. All right, but anyway, you can go out and read that, what happened during that time. Okay, but we're gonna get some scriptures here because Jake doesn't understand that even if you gain a little bit, right, the Lord has still got these curses on us, all right? We haven't been delivered yet. So there may be some Jakes who are doing okay, they doing well, if you will. And then there's a lot of us that's not doing well, okay? But either way you look at it, these people who run the society do not have any compassion for you, and you need to stop looking for them to deliver you. This is Deuteronomy 15, Slakia 28 and 15, and it reads, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Okay, so the Lord put curses on us. Now you can go up to Deuteronomy and read verses 1 through 14, okay, for the blessings. But here is where you find where the Lord said, if you don't do what I said, all right, according to how Moses wrote it out, the words that he gave them to Moses, okay, you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos and Native Americans, okay, and you speckled bird Israelites, all right, that if you don't follow this, this is what's going to happen, okay? Verse 16, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. And we've worked in both in the field and in these major cities now, okay? And they had a city of their own in Greenwood, Oklahoma, that they called Black Wall Street, okay? But the Lord said, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store, right? Everything that you have currently and everything that you may have in reserve, your bank account, whatever it may be, whatever is valued, okay, the Lord is going to put a curse on it, all right? Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind and the flock of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord Yahweh shall send upon thee vexation and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do. Right? So all of their hard work of a lot of those folks, you would have to imagine their parents came out of slavery, right? Because they're 108 and 109 years old. So you would figure their parents, and most definitely their grandparents, would have come out of slavery, right? Starting with nothing, or maybe a little patch of land, okay? And they built themselves up in their own little community to have their own properties, right? Their own equipment, their own vehicles, their own buildings and houses and so on, okay? So they built themselves up pretty good. They put their hand to work, all right? But what happened to it. Okay? The Lord brought that curse on it. You see? The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Right? You forsook the Lord. Okay? There's also another scripture now, Lord will, I'll remember to go and get it. All right? Those of you who have received benefits without knowing the Lord. Okay? And they built themselves up not really knowing the Lord, Yahweh, right? By Hashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, this is why also it's a blessing for us to be in the truth as we are today. Okay, the Lord brought his name back into the earth, and we learn all the scriptures today properly, right? And we learn this truth through the men that the Lord set up and brought back, all right? In particular, the apostles of Great Millstone, the elders and the bishops and so on, right? That us younger brothers are coming in, okay? And we're gaining our footing, and we're getting rooted in the word of truth, okay? So we're blessed in that regard that we understand this truth. 100 years ago, not many knew about this. Okay? So going on, let's jump down to verse 43. And it says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Okay? And our people have been in a low state, a declining state for a long time. Because you would figure even back then, as hard as it was, you had a good number of success stories, if you will, if you can call it that, where you had quite a few jakes with upward mobility, as they call it. Okay? So verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Right? We've been on the tail end of everything. Okay? Verse 45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkest not to the voice of the Lord Yahweh, thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Yeah, so you can look at Jake and tell when Jake is doing bad. All right? That's how you know that we're the Israelites, by the condition of our people, right? And in this day and age, really, by the condition of the women, right? Not just them, but, I think, Salakia, there's an old saying, you want to know how well a nation is doing, look at its women. Okay? But as a people, we're all jacked up, all together. Okay? So it's been put on us for a sign and a wonder. Okay? And this is why we've been called all these different names. And even these other different nation people, okay, call us these names. Okay? That they learned from Esau, Edom. These people from East India, they know that we call niggas, right? Spicks, All right? But these curses are on us for a sign and a wonder. Verse 47, because thou servest not the Lord Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee, right? And when you look at those old pictures, you've never seen any Edomites or no Chinese people or Japanese people with no yokes of iron around their necks. Just Google what a yoke is, slave yoke, and see whose face that you'll see. Okay? The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shalt not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young, right? As swift as the eagle. And the Romans use that symbol, the eagle, okay, as does what? America. Okay? And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all the gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trusteth throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord Yahweh, thy power, have given thee. And so you can look at that even in this context and say here they had a part of a town, part of a city, that they pretty much controlled their own economics, though they didn't have any walls per se, but that was their part of town, and it was destroyed. They knocked down all their buildings, bombed their houses, bombed their streets. Okay? Now, you would have to figure that don't no redneck Edomites own no bombs and can order some planes to fly and start bombing. I'll tell you something else went on, okay? So we'll go on to verse 53. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and thy daughters, which the Lord thy power hath given thee in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thy enemy shall distress thee. Okay, and that went on in a time, okay, where, being in different captivities, where Jake was struggling real bad, all right, and was messed up. And, there was cannibalism, okay, which is going to come back in these latter days, mind you, all right? These people are our enemies. Don't you ever forget that, okay? So let's go on to 2nd Esdras, and let's see here. Let's just go to verse 42 and read it. This 2nd Esdras 7 and 42. He answered me and said, this present life is not the end where much glory doeth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past, intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. So, we're in these last days, okay, and that day of doom is pending, all right? But there ain't much in this life that you should be worried about. In fact, nothing, because this is all going to pass away. Lord's will, we are of that faithful number, okay, and we walk into immortality, okay? That's what we're looking for. So don't look for your job to rescue you, your 401k to rescue you. Don't look for the judge to rescue you. It's not going to happen. All right? Ecclesiasticus, right? Let's see here. For time's sake, we'll just start at 10 then. Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10, it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. And I doubt that judge is ignorant to the case or to the history of the town and what happened to those people, okay? But they're not going to give those people justice, all right? Verse 11, though he humbleth himself and go crouching, Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped the looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Right, so you got to remember who your enemy is, because they really want to replace you. They want to wipe you out of history. Okay, they want to act like their deeds are not recorded. The wickedness that they did is not recorded. And these people can't do anything but wickedness, because that's how they're made. The Most High made them that way. Okay. This is Isaiah 31:1, and it reads, "Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord." Right, these people are not seeking the Lord. They probably prayed to Jesus, all right, that this judge would have compassion, but that's not the Savior's name. So they haven't sought the Holy One of Israel. They sought an idol and a false name. Okay? Our people are stricken, they're destroyed. Okay? Verse 2, "Yet he also is wise and will bring evil and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of the evildoers and against the help of them that work iniquity. Now the Egyptians are men and not God, and their horses flesh and not spirit. When the Lord Yahweh shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they all shall fail together." Right. So these jakes go down there, and though they may be 100 years old or more, seeking righteousness and seeking judgment from some wicked people, all right, who don't have compassion. You're looking for the help of the enemy, all right? And you're going to fail at that, all right? And they're going to fail you, okay? So here you have a woman 105, and I think there's another one that's 102, if I'm not mistaken. The last three survivors, I think one is 109, you see? But you're not seeking the Holy One of Israel, all right? Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. So anyway, if you're interested, you can go out there and read this, and if you don't know much about Black Wall Street in Greenwood, Oklahoma, you can go and research it yourself, okay? But it's not good, Jake, you still got this idea that you live in a land of justice. You are in captivity, okay? And these people show you that you are every day, from being harassed by the so-called police to when you even go to court and think that you're looking to receive justice, and you get disappointed as always. All right. So with that, I'll end the lesson right there, giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makakwadash, and double honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'll see you all again real soon with another lesson, Lord willing. Shalom.